Well, first, thank you for doing this. It's been a tough week for everyone in the city of Richmond. We are covering your involvement in a deadly officer-involved shooting in 2002. So just off the bat, do you have anything that you want to say to the public about that?
Well, it's an incident that occurred very early in my career that I've had to carry with me for over 20 years now. Mm-hmm. It's something that I wish hadn't happened, but because of the nature of how things occurred, I think, I just had to deal with what was presented to me at the time.
Mm-hmm. And so we understand that you met with some community leaders a couple weeks back. Can you explain why you chose them and what was said during that meeting?
Well, it wasn't a couple of weeks back. It was basically a few weeks after I accepted the position as acting chief.
Okay.
So I reviewed the details of the incident with them, allowed them to ask questions. Mm-hmm. I also met with my senior command staff. While many people know about the incident, mm-hmm. some didn't. And I also had to, for the first time, tell my sons about the incident. So that was a conversation that I've been dreading since they were born. They're age 16 and 13 now. But for the first time, I had to sit them down and tell them because I knew this was going to be in the forefront. And, I didn't tell them that because I was ashamed of what happened. It's just a traumatic thing for me to bring up. I get emotional when I talk about it even now. Mm-hmm. But I knew that it was going to be in the forefront and that it would be a matter of public record.
And so on the note of transparency, which you've been very vocal about since you assumed this role as interim chief, I believe back in January, one of the first briefings that you did as acting chief, you said trust, transparency, openness. So can you explain why only now after the FOIA that it's coming out? Perhaps why it wasn't said from you to the public versus us to the public?
Well, to be honest, I was surprised it wasn't brought up. It's not something that I just happened that I would mention randomly. I was named a few days after this in the incident. It's not that it was hidden. I was surprised the media didn't contact me about it. We'd prepared for it. We have a video that we've released that I prepared early on about it. So it's just, I think, I was waiting for the question.
Okay. And finally, this year, there have been 4 that you're still investigating, officer-involved shootings with people in your department. How do you think that your experience, having gone through what some of them are dealing with, could better equip you to lead this department?
Well, I've met with all of them. I speak to the academy classes about my incident. In fact, I just did that last week with the new recruits. Mm-hmm. And I briefed them on the incident that occurred and also its aftermath, the struggles that most officers have after a traumatic event like this. So I'm able to speak to them about it from a position of experience, and I do that whenever these incidents occur. So for these 4, I've been able to go to those officers and tell them to talk to someone about it, mm-hmm. to avoid stuffing your feelings down through alcohol or other non-productive things, to recognize that it's not if, but to what degree you're going to have post-traumatic stress disorder from this, as I did. So I think it lends itself to credibility. And that's one of the reasons I did want to release fatal officer-involved shooting videos. It's not only something that happened with my situation, but I understand how critical it is for people to right. see what happens when officers have to make that split-second decision.
Mm-hmm. And so on that note, from the records that we've seen, this was a justified shooting. The suspect shot at you all first. And so do you have any final messages for the public? Just being such a sensitive time, hearing that the person in charge has gone through this, but justified, Do you have any final messages for the people who are going to see this?
Well, I'll say that we're posting a video of my comments about how it all played out. That I think it's important for them to know that no officer joins a police department so they can be in a fatal shooting. Nobody wants that. But that every officer must prepare themselves for that eventuality, and I think that's what happened in this case.
Okay.